They gave me Bay 4 on my third week at the hub. Supervisor handed me the assignment sheet without looking up. Large fauna quarantine. Restricted access. You're cleared for cleaning detail. Go in, mop the floor, check the water troughs, come out. Don't speak to the cargo. Don't speak to the cargo. Right. I'd worked the merchant lines for 31 years. Cargo holds, engine rooms, the kind of spaces that smelled like hydraulic fluid and other people's bad decisions. A janitor's round on an orbital transit hub was not, all things considered, a dramatic change of career. You mop, you move on. You don't ask questions about the freight. Bay 4 was at the end of sublevel 3, past the cold storage units and the customs impound pens. Heavy security door, amber warning strip along the frame, a keypad that took 30 seconds to cycle. Inside, a holding space about the size of a small aircraft hangar. Concrete floor, steel drainage channels, water trough lines running along the left wall, ventilation ducts overhead wide enough to walk through. The lights were on a manual switch just inside the door. I hit them. The back of the bay was not empty. 6 of them. I couldn't tell you how large they were in numbers. Couldn't make my brain do that math at the time. Large enough that the bay, which had seemed adequate from the door, felt narrow now. They were coiled, or piled, or however you'd say it when 6 bodies that size fold themselves into a space that doesn't quite fit them. Scales the color of old copper left out in the rain, ridged along the spine. Wings folded so tight they looked like collapsed scaffolding. Eyes open, all of them watching me from the dark. I stood there with my mop. Fair enough. I mopped the floor. I checked the water trough lines. One intake valve was running slow, which I noted on the sheet. I did not speak to the cargo. I cycled back out through the security door and went to finish sublevel 2. I didn't sleep well that morning, but I didn't sleep well most mornings. That's what nights do to you eventually. You stop fitting right into the daylight. 6 months is a long time to be in the same place without anything changing. And 6 months is also no time at all if what you're watching changes so slowly you can barely track it. The pack was on a transit quarantine hold, some kind of territorial dispute in the Varath Reach, the paperwork said, which I read once and then set down, because territorial disputes in places I'd never been weren't my business. They'd be released when the hold cleared. In the meantime, the hub was responsible for their welfare, and their welfare included, apparently, a clean floor and functioning water troughs. I became good at the water troughs. First week, one of the inlet valves had a partial block. Grit in the line, probably, and the flow was wrong. I stripped it out and cleaned it on my own time, because waiting for maintenance to schedule it would have taken 2 weeks, and the trough was running at half capacity. New inlet washer from the supply room. 20 minutes of work. I wrote it on the sheet and nobody mentioned it. The pack didn't move much those first weeks. They were coiled, or near enough, and when I came in they stayed that way. Just the eyes tracking me across the floor. Not hostile exactly. Watchful. The way an old dog watches a stranger cross the yard. Not friendly. Not threatening. Just, I see you. I'm deciding. I mopped. I checked the troughs. I noted things on the sheet. I went home. Somewhere around the 2nd month, the largest one, the one at the back, the one with the ridge scar running from his left shoulder down across his flank, copper black where the scales had grown back different, started moving when I came in. Not toward me, not away, just repositioning, lifting his head off the floor. By the 3rd month, he was reliably standing up by the time I came through the door, which added an element to the experience, because standing up meant I could see how much of the bay he occupied. A considerable amount of the bay. More than I'd appreciated from the floor-level view. I kept mopping. There was a night around month 4 when the ventilation went wrong. Not wrong in a dangerous way. A sensor fault, which kicked the system into low-flow mode, which meant the bay temperature climbed about 6 degrees over the course of my shift. I noticed it when I came in. The pack was restless. Not aggressive, but you could see the discomfort in the way they were moving, the wing adjustments, the way the big one's head kept going up toward the ducts. I went to the maintenance panel, looked at the fault code, and called it in. They told me it was logged and would be addressed in the morning. I told them the morning was 4 hours away. They told me that was the process. I found the manual override for the ventilation sector on the panel, because I'd been reading the hub schematics on my brakes for something to do, and I switched it to high flow. The temperature came down inside 20 minutes. Nobody authorized it. I wrote it on the sheet, and left it there for whoever wanted to argue about it later. Nobody ever did. The big one. I had started thinking of him as Korath, which was not his name, which I didn't know, just a word that had come to me for no reason. Lowered his head. Not to the floor, just part way, the way a horse will sometimes. I went back to mopping. The release order came on a Tuesday. I saw it posted on the sub-level board when I came in for my shift. Vareth Reach, delegation arriving 0600, Bay 4 quarantine cleared. Cargo to be collected, Bay to be cleared and cleaned by end of day. My shift ran until 0400. I'd be gone before they arrived. I did my round. I left Bay 4 for last, the way I always did. Inside, the pack was awake, all of them. There was a feeling in the bay I didn't have a name for. Not tension exactly, but something that had been held in for a long time and knew it was about to change shape. They were standing, all six, and the air smelled different. Korath was at the front of the bay, near the door. He hadn't been near the door in 6 months. I mopped. I don't know what else to tell you. I mopped the floor, and I checked the water troughs, and I replaced the intake valve on line 3 that had been running slightly wrong for the last 2 weeks and I'd been meaning to get to. New washer, same job as the first one, 20 minutes. I wrote it on the sheet. When I was done, I stood there a minute with the mop. Korath was looking at me. Not the way he'd looked at me in the first weeks, not deciding. Something had been decided, apparently, some time ago, and I hadn't been informed. His head was lower than his body. Not bowed, exactly, but lower. The others did the same. I didn't know what to do with that. I picked up the bucket and the mop, went to the door, cycled out. I heard about what happened at 0600 from the sub-level supervisor, who'd been there for the handover. The Vareth delegation, 8 of them, plus the Patriarch, who was described to me as vast and black and gold and not the sort of thing you made wait, had come through the main transit bay at dawn and gone straight to Bay 4. Protocol, sign the release forms, collect the cargo, move on. Korath was standing at the bay door when they arrived. Not at the back of the bay, at the door. The Patriarch had stopped. Then there was something that took a while to explain, and that I still don't fully understand, which was that Korath did not immediately go to the delegation. He turned his head back toward the corridor I'd gone down 40 minutes earlier. And then apparently, this was the part that had shaken the supervisor, a 20-year hub veteran who had seen, in his words, quite a lot. The Patriarch asked who had kept this bay. They pulled the cleaning logs. My name was on 6 months of them, every night. Water trough notes. Ventilation override. Inlet valve replacements. They sent someone to find me. I was in the locker room getting my coat. I went back. I didn't know what else to do. The Patriarch was in the transit bay, not Bay 4. He was large enough that the transit bay felt like the right choice. The delegation stood in a row. Korath and the pack were behind them. The Patriarch looked at me for a long time. Then he said a word I didn't recognize. The supervisor translated it, quietly, leaning close. Kethholt. Not quite a name, more like a designation. He told me it meant something like, the one the pack kept watch for, the one who came in without fear, without agenda, without anything except a mop and a willingness to fix the inlet valve, the one they chose. I didn't say anything for a moment. Then I said, right. The Patriarch inclined his head, just slightly. I went back down to Bay 4 after that. The bay was empty, which it was going to have to be cleaned again before whatever came in next. I mopped the floor. I checked the water troughs out of habit, even though they were all flowing right. I put fresh water in line 1. I wrote it on the sheet. Then I got my coat and I went home.